Now, I am not generally a golf guy. I'm not generally a soccer guy, and sometimes I'm not even an NBA guy, but those have dominated the headlines this week, along with some news and notes about some video games you might be interested in and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's all coming up in this week's edition of the Friday Five. And we're starting this week with what else but the World Cup. It is coming to America, coming to Canada, coming to Mexico in 2026, and that includes coming to Kansas City. Yes, the City of Fountains is one of the 16 cities across North America that is going to host some number of games in the 2026 World Cup. Of course, the 2022 World Cup is coming up this fall in Qatar, and the FIFA president believes that by the time it rolls around in North America, it'll be more popular in the U.S. than the NFL. Good luck with that one. But just a few years from now, Kansas City will be part of the home of soccer around the world. They'll play the games at Arrowhead Stadium. I had some doubts that this was going to get done. I didn't know if Arrowhead was going to be able to be moved around and altered enough that FIFA would feel comfortable playing games there. I didn't know that Kansas City, especially in that area, would have the kind of lodging and hotels and public transport that they were wanting. Certainly the new airport at MCI does help, but this is absolutely huge for Kansas City. It is the only city really in the center column of the continent that ended up getting a game. At least in Mexico, you've got Mexico City, Guadalajara is in the same sort of area. But if you're talking United States, Canada, that central column of the entire continent, it's all Kansas City. Most everything else is on a coast or possibly down in Texas. So for Kansas City, obviously regionally, that really stands out. And you have to be honest, the fan support probably played a huge role in this. Kansas City loves its soccer. It is absolutely huge in the City of Fountains. So for Kansas City to be able to get that, to show the support, to show how badly it wanted to get the World Cup, and then to indeed get it, that is massive for the city. I can't say I'm probably going to be searching out tickets for a World Cup game, but for those of you that are, I'm happy for you, and I hope they're not too damn expensive. Number two on this week's Friday Five probably shouldn't be a real story, but the fallout from the first edition of Tyreek Hill's podcast, it needed to be said, reached the Kansas City Chiefs, and some really surprising and really just inappropriate comments from Tyreek Hill became big stories this week, talking about maybe not being used properly when he was in Kansas City and mentioning that he thinks Tua Tagovailoa is more accurate than Patrick Mahomes. Tua, obviously, his new quarterback in Miami. Now, look, I'm a Tua guy. I have been a Tua supporter since he was at Alabama. I thought he was going to be a good NFL quarterback when he was drafted. I thought Miami was an interesting pick, a team on the rise, all of that. I like Tua. I still think he can be a good NFL quarterback. Let's cut the crap, though. He is not as accurate or really anywhere as good at anything as Patrick Mahomes. Maybe throwing left-handed. Mahomes, when he does that, it's a little bit wobbly. Tua can throw a better spiral with his left hand. It is his dominant hand, after all. But that's pretty much it. They are on two completely different planes. I think at best, Tua right now is at least two full planes, probably three below where Patrick Mahomes is. So let's just chill with that. And Patrick Mahomes, when he reacted to it earlier this week, said he was pretty surprised. They talked to each other at the F1 race in Miami earlier this spring and said, hey, this never came up. He's probably just trying to get people interested in the podcast, trying to drum up some interest in it. And I think Patrick Mahomes, unsurprisingly, took the diplomatic route here. I mean, that's what he does. He plays the media game very well, very safe, very smartly. But I know, everybody knows he took those comments to heart. Because if you're Patrick Mahomes, you can say, hey, man, you weren't putting up those numbers and finding that kind of success when Alex Smith was your quarterback. I helped propel you to being one of the 5 best wide receivers in the NFL. Sure, that's because Tyreek is a freak with incredible speed, some of the best speed the NFL has ever seen, maybe the best speed the NFL has ever seen. But I helped you get there. I was a big part of that. This team that I am the centerpiece of helped you get there. You know Patrick Mahomes took that stuff to heart. And yes, he might have said the right things and joked around and said, yeah, I still love Tyreek when he spoke to the media at Chiefs mandatory minicamp. But you know, the next time the Chiefs and Dolphins play, Patrick Mahomes, whether it's going to be counting something on his fingers like he did when they played the Bears a couple years back, whether it's a little extra taunt, whether it's kind of a comment at the end of the game or talking trash on the field, he is going to remember those comments for Tyreek Hill, and that probably is not going to turn out pretty well for the Miami Dolphins. We did crown a champion earlier this week, the Golden State Warriors, for the fourth time in 8 years and for the seventh time in franchise history, are NBA champions. They downed the Boston Celtics 4-2, with Game 6 coming at the TD Garden in Boston. And if you're interested in that kind of thing, and if you are in a state where sports betting is legal, picking Golden State to win in 6 games would have paid out plus 450 at some sports books. But I digress. This win has guaranteed, cemented, made unimpeachable the dynasty of the Golden State Warriors. You can't say, well, they were carried by Kevin Durant. Nope, they weren't. 2 of these championships came without KD. You can't really say anything at this point about Steph Curry's legacy either. Curry has been incredible over the course of his career, especially during this run. He is the centerpiece of a dynasty. He's the greatest shooter of all time, and now he's got that Finals MVP that people have ragged on him for, even though you probably could have argued one of the ones that went to KD or the one that went to Andre Iguodala could have gone to Steph as well. You can't touch this Golden State dynasty at this point. Honestly, you can't really touch Steve Kerr as a coach either. Klay Thompson's in that group. Draymond Green, along with Steph and Klay, Hall of Famer in the future. This dynasty has been incredible. It is untouchable. Whatever juvenile, sophomoric NBA Twitter commentary you want to make about Steph Curry and, well, he can't be top 10, that doesn't really matter. You can't touch this legacy at this point, and that's what is so amazing about greatness, about this dynasty, that Golden State has put itself on a pedestal with groups like the Lakers of the 80s or the Bulls of the 90s, at least in that same kind of rarefied air. That's a pretty impressive run for Golden State, and most people didn't even expect that to come in the 21-22 season. But we'd be remiss if we didn't also talk about Maple Jordan himself from the University of Kansas, the former #1 overall pick, Andrew Wiggins, who went from playing in Minnesota, where he put up decent numbers, but they were usually pretty empty. The Timberwolves never won anything. He was traded for D'Angelo Russell, and pieces were sent to Golden State with Wiggins, and all of a sudden, in 1 year, he becomes the perfect fit for Steve Kerr's team. He plays in a role where he doesn't have to be the most ball-dominant guy. They've got him playing defense, and it wasn't just good defense. It was elite defense, really across the whole playoffs, especially in the NBA Finals. He had Jason Tatum in hell in this entire series, and Tatum had been incredible over the first couple series of the postseason, save for a game or two. Andrew Wiggins was the second best player on the court for either team in the NBA Finals. That is absolutely tremendous. I don't think many people, KU fans, NBA fans, Timberwolves fans, I don't think many people thought he would ever be that kind of piece, but he cemented himself too as a really darn good NBA player, a great defender on one end. He was guarding the best player on the other team all series long. He was an effective scorer as well, over 18 points for the final series. Andrew Wiggins made himself a lot of money with this finals performance, a performance that I don't think many people ever saw coming. In the golf world this week, we're not talking about the PGA versus the LIV Tour or the LIV golfers participating in the U.S. Open, even though it is hilarious that Phil Mickelson has been awful in his first couple of rounds so far at Brookline. But we are talking specifically about a pair of Topekans competing in the U.S. Open. It is an awesome story for the capital city, and it's an awesome story for both Gary Woodland and for Andrew Beckler. Gary, of course, the former U.S. Open champion back in 2019. Andrew Beckler, Washburn's own, the Jack Nicklaus Award winner from earlier on in his college career. It is a tremendous story, and regardless of where the two of them finish, and Gary had a really nice start in his first round, shooting 1 under on the first day of the tournament. Andrew, meanwhile, he shoots 8 over, but it's his first major. He's making this appearance after qualifying during regional events going into the U.S. Open. It is absolutely awesome. It does not matter what the scores are. It's just a great moment for the two of them. I know they have a personal relationship. Really cool story leading into the U.S. Open this week. It's an awesome experience for Andrew. You know it is for Gary as well. The same tournament where he really made a name for himself 3 years ago. It's just so cool for the city of Topeka. It's so cool for the two of them. And while I'm not a golf guy and I'm not going to be watching a ton of the U.S. Open, admittedly, I will definitely be checking in on the two of them this entire time. That's pretty darn fun. And again, Gary with a pretty good start. Wouldn't complain too much if he was up at the top of the leaderboard heading into the weekend. And finally, for those of you who grew up on the NCAA football games like myself, hell, I was playing NCAA 12 on the PS3 just last night. Major news from Matt Brown, author of the Extra Points newsletter on Friday morning, publishing what he knows so far about the next EA Sports college football video game. We've heard about it for over a year now. Matt has been on top of this reporting from the very beginning. Came out with some details on Friday morning of when the new game might be coming out and a little bit about what the game might look like as well. It's still set for July of 2023. So we're just over a year away finally from the return of college football video games. And according to Matt's reporting, EA at this point is going to schools and saying, hey, we want the music from your marching band. We want chants. We want the music that plays in the stadium during certain parts of the game or third downs or whatever it might be. They are trying, and keyword trying, to get this right and to get the details and the things that make college sports and college football special. I love that. I miss the games. I'm excited for that to be back. Matt also reported that while he doesn't know a ton about the gameplay that is actually going to be featured in the new EA Sports college football game, they are planning to make an ultimate team mode, which is the bane of existence for pretty much everyone who plays Madden or FIFA or any other EA game. I believe NBA 2K, while a different company, has something similar to that. A lot of microtransactions for mobile games that are very similar to that. So how important that's going to be, who's to say? But Matt also said that some version of Dynasty mode will be included. That is a plus for those of us who were addicted or maybe are still addicted to that mode of the game. And additionally, they're trying to figure out ways to incorporate ways that the college football landscape has changed over time into the game, considering the last one came out for the 2014 season. Maybe you've heard of the college football playoff. Maybe you've heard of the various other whirlwinds of news that have swept through the landscape over the past near decade. Conference realignment. So many things have changed since the last game came out all the way back in the 2014 season. This could be huge for video gamers, for sports fans, for college football fans, and again, for the niche of us who really never got over the fact that the game was canceled in the first place. And hey, EA even wants to pay the players NIL. Make it happen. That's your Friday 5. Don't forget to go check out Mic'd Up with Jake and Fulton on 580 WIBW every weekday from noon until 3. And then check out myself and my pal Dan Lucero on 580 Sports Talk from 3 to 6 every single weekday, only on 580 WIBW.